Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into Gen Digital's 2025 proxy statement, and let me tell you, it's got more twists and turns than a cybersecurity maze. Prepare for some eye-opening insights beyond the corporate jargon. And hey, if you enjoy decoding these complex filings, then make sure you're subscribed and join our Discord linked in the description below. Let's get straight to the shareholders meeting details. The annual meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 9, 2025, and it's all happening virtually. If you want to tune in, you'll need to visit www.virtualshareholdermeeting.com/Gen25, as that's the record date for who gets to vote. In this proxy statement, we're going to look at three main proposals. First up is the election of 9 directors to Gen's board. Then we've got the ratification of KPMG as their independent accounting firm for the upcoming fiscal year. And finally, an advisory vote to approve how much they're paying their top executives. Gen's board, or as they call it, their board of directors, recommends you vote for all 3 of these proposals. Let's talk about the folks asking for your vote to be directors. There are 9 nominees for the board, each with their own set of skills and experience. For example, Susan P. Barsamian, aged 66, has a background in technology sales and marketing from her time at Hewlett-Packard. Her experience is seen as valuable for her expertise in enterprise software sales and go-to-market strategies. She also sits on the boards of other public companies like Box Inc. and Five9 Inc. Then there's Pavel Bordis, also a director. He co-founded Avis PLC, a major player in cybersecurity. His technical background and experience as a founder and executive in the tech industry are considered key to his value. And of course, Vincent Pilette, the CEO and president, he's directly involved in the company's strategy and operations. Nora M. Denzel, age 62, brings a wealth of executive management experience from companies like Intuit and HP Enterprise. Her expertise in leadership governance and risk management is highlighted as a key qualification. Emily Heath, a partner at Cyberstarts, a venture capital firm, aged 51, offers deep knowledge in cybersecurity and international business. Charisse M. Smith managed to bring her legal and management expertise from Paul Hastings LL to the board. Andrei Volkshek, formerly president of Gen, brings valuable insights from his leadership roles within the company. Gen's board is looking to be quite diverse. As of July 18, 2025, after a director resigned, the board composition shows 9 directors in total, with 5 men and 4 women. The board also looks diverse in terms of ethnic background, with representation from women and individuals from underrepresented communities. Now let's look at how the company compensates its directors. They focus on a mix of cash and equity, with a strong emphasis on equity to align directors' interests with those of the shareholders. Non-employee directors receive annual retainers for their service and committee work. For example, all non-employee directors get a $5,000 retainer, and committee chairs receive additional amounts based on their role. Susan P. Barsamian, who became lead independent director, receives $101 yearly for that role. Looking at the fiscal year 2025 director compensation, Susan P. Barsamian earned $850,110 in cash and received $259,000, received $259,000, $99,000 for $725, earned the most with $17,259,1. Alvon did 25, earned the most with $17,259,151. Went to 25, earned the most with $17,259. Finer, the most with $1,725, earned 7 in cash and $20,59.84 in stock awards, for a total of $403,507 in cash, and received $2,009 for NCT4 and stock awards, for a total of $4,009 in cash and $259,984 in stock awards, for a total of 403 1 and 4 awards, for a total of 44334,491. Moving on to proposal number 2, the company is asking you to ratify the appointment of KPMG LLP as their independent registered public accounting firm for the 2026 fiscal year. This is a pretty standard request. Companies have been working with KPMG since 2002, and they audited Gen's financial statements for fiscal year 2025. Let's check out the fees paid to KPMG. For fiscal year 2025, Gen paid KPMG a total of $466,020. This breaks down into $400,666 for audit fees and $446,200 for audit-related fees, primarily 96E. Now, for proposal number 3, the advisory vote to approve executive compensation. This is often called a say-on-pay vote. Jen is asking if you approve of the compensation paid to their named executive officers as detailed in the proxy statement. The company highlights that their executive compensation program is designed to drive long-term value and reward performance. They mentioned that at their 2024 meeting, the say on pay vote passed with about 95% of the vote, which they see as strong support for their pay for performance approach. This compensation discussion and analysis section actually gives us a deep dive into how they decide to pay their executives. Their philosophy seems to be about driving business success, rewarding performance, attracting and retaining talent, and aligning executive interests with shareholders. They mention that about 95% of the CEO's compensation is at risk and performance-based, and for other top executives, around 91% is at risk and 58% is performance-based. This means a huge chunk of their pay is tied to how well the company does. Let's look at the performance side of things. In fiscal year 2025, Jen saw profitable growth, expanding operating margins and earnings per share. They also noted strong results in key metrics like customer count, bookings, retention rate, and average revenue per user. They specifically mentioned that since acquiring Avis, their direct customer base has grown to over 40 million. They break down the actual compensation payouts versus targets. For the executive annual incentive plan, based on bookings growth, they achieved 1% of target, resulting in a 38% payout. There was also a responsible business modifier that added an extra 7% to the payout. For performance-based restricted stock units, there are two metrics: relative total shareholder return versus the NASDAQ Composite Index, and a combination of bookings growth and non-GAAP operating margin. Now, for the juicy numbers, the summary compensation table. For fiscal year 2025, CEO Vincent Pilotte's total compensation was a whopping 225,197. This includes his 95,000 salary and a massive 1,803 in stock awards. The non-equity incentive plan compensation was 1,720,75. Natalie Durst, the CFO's total compensation for 2025 was 8,314,573, including a 6,000 salary and 6,838,573 in stock awards. Brian Coe, the Chief Legal Officer, earned 666,631 in 2025 with a 53,000 salary and 547,000 salary and 547,083 in stock awards. Andrei Volkic, former president's compensation for 2025 was significantly less at 241,225, simply because he departed from his role as president in June 2024. Looking at outstanding equity awards as of March 28, 2025, Vincent Pilette had unvested stock awards with a market value of over $22 million. Natalie Durst had over $7 million in unvested stock, and Brian Coe had over $5 million. These numbers represent the potential value of their long-term incentive awards. When we look at how much they actually cashed out in fiscal year 2025, Vincent Pilette realized over $16 million from vested stock awards. Natalie Durst realized about 4.9 million, and Brian Coe realized about 4.5 million, and Brian Coe realized about 4.5 million. This last section talks about what happens if an executive leaves the company or if there's a change in control. Jen has plans like the executive retention plan and the executive severance plan. For example, if Vincent Pilette were to be terminated without cause after a change in control, he could potentially receive over $13 million in option vesting and over $39 million from RSU vesting. It's a substantial safety net tied to specific events. This pay versus performance table shows the relationship between compensation and company performance over several years. CEO Vincent Pilette's compensation actually paid in 2025 was $335,444.36. The average compensation for non-PEO NEOs was $4.9 million. When you compare this to the company's performance metrics, it provides context on how pay trends with actual results. They use total shareholder return, net income, and net revenue growth as key measures. For instance, in 2025, Gen's net revenue growth was 4%, while their total shareholder return was 16.1, compared to a peer group's 31.10 Taintom and net revenue growth as key measures. For instance, in 2025, Gen's net revenue growth was 4%, while their total shareholder return, net income, and net revenue growth as key measures. For instance, in 2025, Gen's net revenue growth was 4%, while their total shareholder return was 16.1, compared to a peer group's 3.10. If you invested $100 in Gen back in 2021, its value as of 2025 would be $161 based on the total shareholder return, which is a pretty decent return overall. Jen considers net revenue growth, non-GAAP operating income, non-GAAP operating margin, relative total shareholder return absolute, total shareholder return and bookings growth as their most important performance measures linking compensation to company results. Overall, Jen Digital seems to be navigating a complex business landscape with a strong focus on executive compensation tied to performance. Their strategy appears to be aggressive in some areas like customer growth and executive retention, but also cautious with strong governance practices. Now, for my take, Jen has clearly put a lot of thought into aligning executive pay with shareholder value, evident in the large portion of compensation being performance-based stock awards. Their retention of key talent and growth in customer numbers are definite strengths. However, the sheer scale of executive compensation, especially stock awards, reaching millions, highlights the high stakes in this industry. The company's reliance on various non-GAAP metrics for performance evaluation, while common, needs careful watching to ensure they accurately reflect underlying business health. The pay ratio report also shows a significant gap between the CEO's earnings and the median employee's earnings, a common characteristic in tech, but still something to note. So what's the verdict for Jen? They're pushing forward with a clear strategy and a compensation structure designed to push executives to meet ambitious goals. They're navigating market changes and acquisitions effectively, but the high executive pay and reliance on non-GAAP measures means shareholders need to stay vigilant. It's a company that balances growth ambition with a structured approach to incentivize its leadership. Alright, that's our breakdown of Jen Digital's latest filing. What are your thoughts on their executive compensation and board structure? Do these numbers reflect a company firing on all cylinders? Or are there red flags you're seeing? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this deep dive useful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more corporate decoding. And don't forget to join our Discord community linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.